Let me tell you something that might shake you a little. Your worth is not up for negotiation. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But I know it doesn't always feel that way, especially when you're surrounded by people who treat your kindness like weakness, your silence like surrender, and your heart like something disposable. Maybe you've been in rooms where your voice was dismissed. Maybe you've given love to people who handed you disappointment. Maybe you've shown patience to those who only knew how to take advantage of it. And with every moment of disrespect, a part of you wondered, do I deserve better, or is this just how life is? Listen carefully. You deserve better, and deep down, you already know that. What you're really struggling with is the courage to honor that truth. Respecting yourself when others don't isn't about being loud, aggressive, or confrontational. It's about something quieter, something steadier. It's about standing in your own emotional truth even when someone else is trying to rewrite it. It's the moment you decide, I don't need your validation to confirm my value. Self-respect is a choice, and it's a difficult one, especially when you're surrounded by people who benefit from having none. Toxic people thrive on confusion, guilt, and emotional chaos. They want you questioning yourself, doubting yourself, shrinking yourself, because the moment you truly respect yourself, their power disappears. Let me tell you something tender but true. You don't have to earn the right to be treated well. You were born with it. You don't have to justify your feelings, your boundaries, your voice, or your heart, not to anyone. So today, in this very first step of our journey, I want you to breathe deeply and claim something that every human deserves, but few dare to own fully: the right to respect yourself. Even when others refuse to, the moment you stop explaining yourself, there comes a moment in life, quiet, powerful, unmistakable, when you realize you're done explaining yourself to people who only pretend to listen. And that moment, that internal shift, is the beginning of real self-respect, because people who genuinely care about you don't demand explanations soaked in pain. They don't twist your words, question your intentions, or weaponize your honesty. Only toxic people do that. And you know what? You don't owe them anything. Not a justification, not a second chance, not a re-entry into your peace. Respecting yourself, especially when others don't, starts with a simple but fierce understanding. Your feelings are valid even if someone else calls them too much. Your boundaries are real even if someone else calls them dramatic. Your needs matter even if someone else treats them like inconveniences. You may have spent years apologizing for who you are, dimming your light just to keep the peace. You may have shrunk your voice, softened your truth, carried emotional weight that wasn't yours to carry, and maybe for a long time you believed that if you just tried harder, loved deeper, stayed kinder, someone else would finally choose to respect you. But let me say this with every ounce of tenderness: their lack of respect is not your responsibility. It is not a reflection of your flaws, your worth, or your heart. It's a reflection of their own emotional emptiness. When you stop explaining yourself to the wrong people, the guilt lifts, the confusion clears, the exhaustion softens, and in its place, something sacred rises: clarity. Clarity about who you are, clarity about what you deserve, clarity about what you will and then will not accept anymore. This is the moment you begin standing taller, not because someone finally sees you, but because you finally see yourself. And trust me, that shift changes everything. It rewrites dynamics, closes doors gently, and opens new ones with grace. It's not aggressive. It's not loud. It's simply the truth stepping forward. Self-respect starts right here. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. The power of saying no without apology. There is a version of you, strong, grounded, untouchable, that begins to rise the moment you learn to say one small word without flinching. Not the soft, maybe later. Not the hesitant, I guess it's fine. Not the survival-based, okay, I'll do it. I'm talking about the clean, steady, unapologetic. No, most people think no is confrontational. But let me tell you a truth that will change the way you navigate toxic people forever. No is a boundary, not a battle. It is the line that separates who you are from who they want you to be. And toxic people hate boundaries because boundaries are the places where their manipulation dies. You've probably felt the pressure before. Someone pushing your limits, someone taking advantage of your kindness, someone expecting you to tolerate just a little more, give a little more, bend a little more. And every time you said yes to keep the peace, a part of you whispered, this doesn't feel right. That whisper, that was your self-respect calling your name. When you say no, you are not rejecting a person. You are protecting your spirit. You are honoring your energy. You are choosing your peace over someone else's chaos. And let me be clear, you are not required to justify you don't need a 10-step explanation. You don't need to soften it with apologies. You don't need permission to protect yourself. Your no is enough because you are enough. Toxic people will try to guilt trip you, question you, or make you feel selfish, but listen closely. You are not selfish for protecting your well-being. You are responsible. You are not unkind for choosing rest. You are wise. You are not cold for stepping back. You are healing. No is the moment you reclaim your power. No is the doorway to your self-worth. No is the language of someone who has finally remembered who they are. And once you learn to say it without shame, you will never allow anyone to treat you like an option again. When silence becomes your strength, there is a kind of silence that doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean surrender. It doesn't mean you've run out of things to say. There is a silence that speaks louder than shouting. A silence that says, I don't need to argue for my worth anymore. Toxic people thrive on reactions. They feed on your anger, your explanations, your defensiveness. They want you tangled in their chaos because as long as you're emotionally pulled in, they feel powerful. They want you drained, confused, and off balance because that's where they can control you. But the moment you choose silence, not the silence of fear, but the silence of self-respect, everything shifts. This silence is not passive. It's not weak. It's not retreat. It is a declaration. I am no longer available for this energy. You don't have to debate your value. You don't have to convince someone to treat you right. You don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to participate in the disrespect. Your silence becomes a boundary. Your silence becomes a mirror. Your silence becomes a message that cannot be misunderstood. And here's the beautiful part. Toxic people hate silence because they cannot twist it. They cannot manipulate it. They cannot use it against you. Your silence takes the oxygen out of their chaos. It leaves them alone with their own behavior, something they rarely want to confront. When you choose silence, you reclaim your emotional space. You conserve your energy. You rise above the noise instead of drowning in it. You show dignity without needing to announce it. This kind of silence is strength. It is clarity. It is control. And it tells the world something powerful. I will not argue for what should be obvious. I will not compete for basic respect. I will not lose myself trying to fix what does not want to change. Silence, when chosen with intention, is a crown. Wear it without apology. Walking away without breaking yourself. There is a moment in every self-respecting person's life when they realize something heartbreaking but liberating. You can love people and still walk away from them, especially when the cost of staying is your peace, your self-esteem, or your emotional safety. Walking away isn't failure. It isn't weakness. It isn't giving up. Walking away is wisdom. It is the quiet recognition that you cannot heal in the same environment that keeps hurting you. It is realizing that someone's unwillingness to change is not a challenge for you to fix. It's a truth for you to accept. When you walk away, you're not leaving because you stopped caring. You're leaving because you started caring about yourself. The hardest part is the emotional tug of war inside you. One part saying, maybe they'll finally understand, and another whispering, this is destroying you. But let me tell you the truth your heart has been waiting to hear is you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep another person warm. The people who drain you, belittle you, dismiss you, or disrespect your boundaries don't magically become better when you sacrifice more. In fact, the more you tolerate, the worse they behave. That's why leaving isn't abandoning them, it's choosing you. And choosing yourself is not selfish. It's sacred. It's survival. When you walk away with grace, not anger, not bitterness, not revenge, you reclaim something priceless, your identity. You reclaim your time, your emotional bandwidth, your dignity. You reclaim the parts of yourself you once gave away, hoping someone would finally treat you right. Toxic people will call you dramatic. They will call you ungrateful. They will call you the problem. But none of those labels belong to you. They belong to the version of you they benefited from, the you who stayed quiet, stayed small, stayed forgiving beyond reason. Walking away is the moment you step into your power fully. It's the moment you choose truth over illusion, clarity over chaos, and healing over harm. Sometimes the bravest way to respect yourself is to leave. The courage to confront your own patterns, respecting yourself in front of people who don't respect you isn't just about setting boundaries with them. It's all setting boundaries with the version of you that tolerated too much for too long. And that takes courage, deep, uncomfortable soul level courage. Because here's the truth we rarely talk about. Sometimes the hardest person to confront is ourselves. It's easy to blame the toxic people, but healing asks a harder question. Why did I stay? Why did I keep forgiving? Why did I silence myself? Not because you're weak, but because you were wired to believe that love is earned through endurance, that loyalty means self-sacrifice, that your needs should always come last. Somewhere along the line, someone taught you that being good meant being agreeable, available, and endlessly patient. But let me speak directly to that wound. You don't owe anyone your suffering to prove your worth. It takes tremendous strength to admit that we've been shrinking ourselves, betraying ourselves, or abandoning our own boundaries just to avoid losing people. That's not failure, that's survival. You did what you knew. You did what felt safest at the time, but now you know better. And when you know better, you get to grow differently. Self-respect begins when you stop blaming yourself for how others treated you and start taking responsibility for how you treat yourself moving forward. Do you speak to yourself with kindness? Do you honor your intuition? Do you trust your feelings? Do you allow yourself to take up space, to have needs, to say, this doesn't feel right without guilt? The courage to confront your patterns is not about shame. It's about liberation. It's about recognizing the places where you've been too forgiving, too flexible, too hopeful, and saying, I deserve better, and I'm willing to change my behavior to match that truth. That's the moment transformation begins, not when they finally respect you, but when you finally do. And from that moment on, no one gets to treat you less than the way you've learned to treat yourself. Protecting your energy like it's sacred. Your energy is not cheap. Your peace is not disposable. Your heart is not a public playground for people who don't know how to handle it. But toxic people will make you feel like you owe them unlimited access, your time, your attention, your emotional labor. They expect you to be available on demand, even when you're exhausted, hurting, or depleted. And for a long time, you may have given them exactly that. Not because you didn't know better, but because you were trying to be kind, supportive, understanding. But here's the truth that shifts everything. Your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Protecting yourself isn't rude. It isn't cold. It isn't change him. It's wisdom. It's maturity. It's self-respect blooming into action. You protect your energy when you stop over-explaining. You protect your energy when you stop absorbing other people's moods. You protect your energy when you stop letting guilt dictate your decisions. And most importantly, you protect your energy when you stop handing your emotional power to people who cannot be trusted with it. Think about this. Every time you respond to manipulation, you pay a price. Every time you let someone guilt trip you, you pay a price. Every time you argue with someone who has no intention of understanding you, you pay a price. And the cost is always the same, your inner peace. Protecting your energy means becoming intentional about who gets your attention, who gets your vulnerability, who gets your emotional availability. Not everyone qualifies. Not everyone earns their place. Some people want your energy because they crave control. Some want your empathy because it makes them feel powerful. Some want your presence because it fills the emptiness they refuse to face. But you are allowed to step back. You are allowed to disconnect. You are allowed to say, this conversation is no longer good for my spirit. Protecting your energy doesn't create distance. It creates clarity. And that clarity becomes the foundation for a life where your heart is no longer the collateral damage of someone else's toxicity. Right? Rewriting your narrative about self-worth, one of the most dangerous lies toxic people tell us, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly, is that our worth is conditional, that we have to earn love, respect, or consideration, that if we don't bend, give, or tolerate, we somehow fail. Let me tell you something deeply important. Your worth is not negotiable. It is not conditional. It does not depend on anyone else's behavior, approval, or acknowledgement. For too long, you may have carried a story that made you small, made you apologetic, made you feel like you needed permission to exist fully. Toxic people reinforce this story because it keeps you malleable, pliable, and predictable. It keeps you trapped in their version of reality. But what if you chose to rewrite that story? What if you refused to internalize their disrespect? What if you consciously decided to believe, I am enough? I am worthy. I am deserving of respect. Even when others fail to give it, changing this narrative is not a one-time event. It's a daily, often challenging practice. Every interaction with a toxic person becomes a test of your new truth. They will push boundaries. They will provoke reactions. They will attempt to make you question yourself, and that's okay. because your self-worth is forged in moments like these. Every time you stand tall in the face of disrespect, every time you maintain boundaries, every time you refuse to shrink, you reinforce a new, unshakable story about who you are. It's not arrogance, it's not entitlement, it's reclamation. Rewriting your narrative also means embracing your imperfections, your mistakes, and your humanity. Self-respect doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. It requires courage. It requires the willingness to say, I am here fully, and I will not allow anyone to diminish me. And here's the most liberating truth. The more you embrace this, the less toxic people affect you. The more you honor yourself, the less you bend to their chaos. The more you love your own story, the less you need validation from anyone else. This is the transformative power of self-respect. When you rewrite your narrative, you stop being a character in someone else's story, and you step fully into your own, turning boundaries into empowerment. Boundaries are not walls. They are not punishments. They are not rejections. Boundaries are declarations. This is what I will and will not accept. This is how I honor myself, and toxic people will hate them because boundaries strip them of control. For too long, you may have allowed your time, energy, and emotions to be dictated by others. You may have said, when every fiber of your being screamed no. You may have felt guilty for prioritizing yourself. And in those moments, you were silently asking others to decide your worth. Here's the truth. No one has the right to determine your value but you. And every boundary you set is a powerful act of self-respect. Empowerment comes from consistency. Saying no once is brave, but saying it repeatedly, even when pressure mounts, is revolutionary. It's a message that you are no longer negotiable, that your peace is non-negotiable, and that your self-worth is not up for debate. Boundaries also protect your mental and emotional health. They allow you to interact with others on your terms without compromise to your dignity. And yes, some people will resist. Some will push. Some will try to guilt you, manipulate you, or shame you into retreating. That is their problem, not yours. Every time you honor a boundary, you reclaim a piece of yourself that may have been lost to fear, obligation, or habit. You prove to yourself that you are capable of standing firm, of maintaining your integrity, and of living authentically. Boundaries are also contagious. When you model self-respect, you inspire others to respect themselves, and you attract relationships that honor your limits naturally. Remember, self-respect is not optional. It is essential. It is survival. It is love for yourself first. As you continue to set boundaries, you'll realize something profound. The discomfort of enforcing them is temporary, but the freedom, peace, and empowerment you gain last a lifetime. Your boundaries are not barriers. They are your armor. They are the manifestation of your courage. And they are the bridge to a life where toxic energy no longer controls your heart. The triumph of choosing yourself, here it is. The final truth you need to hear it is. No one gets to define your value but you, not the critic, not the manipulator, not the person who thrives on chaos and confusion. Your self-respect is yours to claim, yours to protect, and yours to cultivate every single day. Choosing yourself in the face of toxicity is not a one-time act. It is a continuous practice of courage, honesty, and love. It's waking up and deciding, I will honor my boundaries. I will speak my truth. I will preserve my peace. It's choosing clarity over chaos, dignity over disrespect, and freedom over fear. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. Yes, people will resist. Yes, some relationships may fracture. But here's the empowering reality. The fractures are not losses. They are liberation. They are signs that your life is finally aligned with your worth, and that you are no longer willing to compromise for the comfort of others. Every time you stand firm, every time you refuse to shrink, every time you protect your energy, you teach yourself something profound. You are enough, always have been, always will be. The respect you seek from others becomes irrelevant because you are fully equipped to give it to yourself. Imagine walking through life with that kind of confidence, undaunted by judgment, untouched by criticism, unshaken by disrespect. Imagine a life where toxic energy slides off you like water, unable to penetrate the armor of self-respect you've carefully built. That life is not a fantasy, it is a choice, a deliberate, courageous choice to honor your worth above all else. And here's the ending, simple and unshakable. When you respect yourself, even when others don't, you reclaim your power, your peace, and your life, and no one, not anyone can ever take that away from you. So go ahead, stand tall, speak your truth, set your boundaries, walk away when needed, guard your energy, rewrite your story, and above all, choose yourself every single day because you are deserving, you are worthy, and your self-respect is the fiercest act of love you will ever give to yourself.